Welcome all to our weekly interfaith meeting. This meeting we have been conducting for the last 164 weeks. This is episode number 164. The purpose is to foster the devotional character of our society and to bring understanding among different religions and their followers, that there's one source for all these religions, and there's a common foundation among all these religions. Thereby, we try to remove the religious prejudice that is one of the serious obstacles for achieving peace in the world. And along with this, we read from different religions, and also usually we have someone give a presentation and then we have discussions about the topic that was presented. And as a group, as a community, we try to understand each other and other religions, and we don't argue about who is right and who is wrong. We collectively try to understand a common knowledge. So we had traveled quite well so far, and I want to welcome Catherine. She was attending our devotional meeting at our home maybe more than 10 years ago. And also Dr. Edwin Joseph, he was one of the presenters some time back, and he's in Darwin. And Rosine from Germany. And also Ruby and Sarushi. The others have been regular participants. So we will ask Catherine to honor the indigenous people in the land. Catherine.
Yes, do you give it to me on the screen? You give me the text to read?
Okay.
Oh. Okay. We acknowledge and pay respect to the past, present, and future traditional custodians and elders of this nation we call Australia, and the continuation of cultural, spiritual, and educational practices of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. We acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander tribes were the first sovereign nations of the Australian continent. The Gadigal of the Eora Nation are the traditional custodians of this place we now call Sydney, and the Wongal people are traditional owners of Burwood.
Thank you. I'd just like to add that every Wednesday, there's a meeting organized by the Women's Reconciliation Network. And I'm honored to attend this Women's Network meeting. And Tracy is one of those who organized it. And we learn a lot about Aboriginal wisdom and their knowledge. So if anyone is interested, you can contact Tracy. Now we will go on to our main devotional part. First, we will listen to this music.
Oppressors on earth, withdraw your hands from tyranny, for I have pledged myself not to forgive any man's injustice. This is my covenant, which I have irrevocably decreed in the preserved tablet, and sealed it with my seal of glory. This is my covenant, which I have irrevocably decreed in the preserved tablet, and sealed it with my seal of glory, of glory, of glory, of glory, of glory. This is my covenant.
O my friend, listen with heart and soul to the songs of the Spirit, and treasure them as thine own eyes. For the heavenly wisdoms, like the clouds of spring, will not rain down on the earth of men's hearts forever. And though the grace of the all-bounteous one is never stilled and never ceasing, yet to each time and era a portion is allotted, and a bounty set apart, this in a given measure. Bahola.
Listen, I tell thee for thy comfort this. Give me thy heart. Adore me, serve me. Cling in faith and love and reverence to me. So shalt thou come to me. I promise true, for thou art sweet to me. In the scriptures.
Let the wise listen and add to their learning, and let the discerning get guidance for understanding proverbs and parables, the sayings and riddles of the wise. Jewish scripture, Proverbs 1.
Application and initiative nourish wealth. Adornment and decoration nourish beauty. Suitable activity nourishes health. Good friendship nourishes ethical conduct. Sense restraint nourishes the spiritual life. Honesty nourishes friends. Reciting nourishes learning. Eagerness to listen and ask questions nourishes wisdom. Commitment and reviewing nourish good qualities. Right practice nourishes heaven. These 10 things nourish the 10 likable, desirable, and agreeable things that are rare in the world. Buddhist scripture.
My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. Christian Scriptures, James 1, 19-20.
Catherine, you had to unmute. Catherine, you had to unmute.
Is it again me?
Yeah. When they listen to what has been revealed to the messenger, you see their eyes overflowing with tears for recognizing the truth. They say, "Oh Lord, we believe, so count us among the witnesses." Islamic scripture, Quran 5:83.
Hearken thou unto my call from the horizon of my prison, in the midst of mine adversaries. Verily there is none other God but him, the ever forgiving, the most bountiful. He had truly hearkened unto the divine verses, who ariseth to perform that which befitted him. Many are the souls who have listened but are not accounted by the Almighty as having heard. True listening consisted in man's first perceiving with the ear of his spirit the call of the All-Merciful, and then remaining so steadfast in observing the divine precepts and command that were he to witness from the peoples of the world naught save denial, enmity, and rejection, he would in no wise be deflected from walking in the straight path of God. Well is it with them that attain. Baha'i Scripture, Baha'u'llah.
I can hear the voices singing, chanting behind the walls, locked away in their prison cells, and they've done nothing at all. Their courage makes us stronger, their quiet resolve gives us wings. All the suffering they endure will only the blessings bring. And we're here for you, standing in serried lines. Let our thoughts and prayers wash over you and comfort you in the cold night. The door is locked and the key is gone. Your loved ones cry out in pain. Where is the justice? Where is the law? Yet you patiently remain. Can you feel the millions of souls, your brothers and sisters in song? Cannot extinguish the light in our hearts. The fire of love's burning strong. And we're here for you, You can hear the sound of chanting escape from her cell. A prayer for forgiveness. She's wishing her captors well. The prisoners of Tehran, their freedom denied. How we long for your release, when you can take back your lives. You can take them and shroud them in darkness. You can tear them away from their lives, but you will never break down the doors to their faithful hearts and minds. You can take them and shroud them in darkness. You can tear them away from their lives, but you will never break down the doors to their faithful hearts and minds. You can take them and shroud them in darkness. You can tear them away from their lives, but you will never break down the doors to their faithful hearts and minds. You can take them and shroud them in darkness. You can tear them away from their lives, but you will never break down the doors to the faithful hearts and minds.
Yes, friends, now we will invite our speaker today, Colin Liddin. He is one of the strong supporters of our Interfaith Forum, and he has been into this interfaith dialogue for a long time, and he has a blog on this interfaith dialogue. And he is going to present to us, he's asking us a question. Why then people not turning with confidence to religion? So we welcome Colin, and tell us why they are not turning to religion.
Thank you, Siva. So this is a continuation of last week's presentation, which was on a paragraph from the message, which kind of a 9-year plan, which Baha'is are following for, and each plan builds on. We learn from several years of action and reflection and planning, and then the worldwide experience gets condensed, and we realize what opportunities are there, what we need to do. And so we looked at one paragraph of that message, which was about the enkindled souls, which are being raised up by not necessarily just Baha'is, but people trying to put into action Baha'u'llah's teachings. I'm just going to share screen. Looks like I can. So this is the topic. Why then are people not turning with confidence to religion? And a recap from last week, we looked at this analogy. There's many analogies to understand the benefits and the effects of a revelation from God or a messenger from God. And one is the idea of disease and remedy. And Baha'u'llah wrote that which hath streamed forth from the most exalted pen is conducive to the glory, the advancement and education of all the peoples and kindreds of the earth. Indeed, it is the sovereign remedy for every disease, could they but comprehend and perceive it. And so we looked at about a dozen different things which we're aiming to see in our communities, aiming to see develop. And this could also be an individual goal for ourselves if we, all these signs of what an enkindled soul and community will look like. And from the list, we were able to just identify for ourselves what we need to work on or what we'd like to see in our communities. And there's one which generated a lot of, probably the most discussion. The enkindled souls see the power that true religion possesses to transform hearts and overcome distrust. And so, with confidence in what the future holds, they labour to cultivate the conditions in which progress can occur. That's interesting. Like, it's a bit like a gardener. A gardener doesn't make the flower grow directly. They create the conditions in which plants can grow or progress can occur. And of course, conditions for Baha'is is spiritual and material. So here's the question. If the scriptures have not changed, the moral principles they contain have lost none of their validity, sincere prayer still finds an answering voice, the heart is still touched by the words of Jesus or Buddha, peace and justice are central to God's purpose, and the lives of heroes and saints are no less meaningful today, then why are many religious people not turning with confidence to religion? So that's the discussion question, and the next two slides will basically put the same question in slightly different wording. And this, most of this presentation is based on a paragraph from a commentary called One Common Faith, which you can find on the Baha'i Library website. So the paragraph before this question gives context. Throughout history, the primary agents of spiritual development have been the great religions. For the majority of the Earth's people, the scriptures of each of these systems of belief have served, in Baha'u'llah's words, as the city of God, a source of a knowledge that totally embraces consciousness, one so compelling as to endow the sincere with a new eye, a new ear, a new heart, and a new mind. No other force in existence has been able to elicit from people comparable qualities of heroism, self-sacrifice, and self-discipline. At the social level, the resulting moral principles have repeatedly translated themselves into universal codes of law, regulating and elevating human relationships. Viewed in perspective, the major religions emerge as the primary driving forces of the civilizing process. Here's the question again, slightly different wording. Why then does this immensely rich heritage not serve as the central stage for today's reawakening of spiritual quest? For many religious people, therefore, the most painful aspect of the current crisis of civilization is that the search for truth has not turned with confidence into religion's familiar avenues. So I'd just like to see if anyone has any thoughts before I share one thought. And then we change the discussion. Perhaps we can just share a few ideas.
I think the followers. Oh, sorry, Rosine, please.
Hi, Rosie.
You can go first, Siva. Yeah, after you.
No. You.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for this nice presentation and this nice devotional program. Regarding this topic, I have only two in mind, and I would like to share with you. The first reason people are not turning the face with confidence to religion, it's about the comprehension of the covenant. Because the humankind today, we are following dogmatism, and we just follow what others are doing, and it's like just repeating. But the really purpose of the covenant has not been really comprehended by all the humankind. We don't know what does it mean. God is respecting the covenant from his side after he has made the promise. But in our side as human being, we are not respecting it because we don't understand what is the meaning of the covenant. This is the first reason. And the second reason, like I said before again, because we don't want to look from our own eyes. We want just to follow what others people are doing. And I can say this is just a part laziness of the human being. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Rosine, which covenant is that? It's an agreement between God and people, is that right?
Yes, exactly. The agreement between God and the humankind, because after God had creating the world, he has made a promise that he will be there for us. He will help us. And from our side, it's not easy for us to recognize God. That's why God promised to send in all time, in all period, or in all needed a messenger. And this messenger has a role to show us the way how we can recognize God and to serve him and to follow his instruction to make our life, our world better. So unfortunately, I can say the most people are not really understanding this part. What's mean this covenant? I can accept to become Christian. I can become Baha'i. I can become Buddhist. But did I really understand the covenant? Why I decide to say I am Christian or I am Baha'i, for example? It's a covenant that I have signed. Yeah. And I must ask myself the question, I am respecting my part of the covenant. I am recognizing the messenger. I am following the principle of those messengers. So if everybody could have asked himself this question every day to make these conscience exams in his head, I think it will help us quick to understand really the meaning of the religions. And we will understand why we should come together, that there is no differences between Jesus or Muhammad. Is the same spirit which is coming and repeating until we become adult or mature in our spirit as human being.
Okay, thank you. So why humanity is not turning with confidence to religion, as even religious people, perhaps not being able to see God fulfilling his promise, having trouble recognizing that and turning towards it, and that's how I noted it. And the second one, that we're not looking for ourselves, not seeing with our own eyes. Thank you. Siva, were you next?
Yes, thank you. I think, Rosine touched upon it. The people, they are following their religion, but they are not understanding the religion well enough. They cling to the peripheral things or the superficial things or the social aspect of the religious teachings, but they are not clinging to the fundamental truth or the spiritual truth of this. If they understand, then they will bring about the unity and peace in this world.
Okay, so there's perhaps the spiritual core of religion is not understood well enough. And Dion?
It's so easy. I mean, why people don't understand covenant? It's so easy to understand covenant. God cannot come to human being if they don't even know how to confess their sins. They don't know how to have holy bread. They don't know how to share the holy bread. And they don't do penance if they commit sins. So like Jesus has been crucified to restore the truth and to save the people, and the people did not believe and answer and feel remorse for what they done. If the place is so bad, God will get angry and give punishment and destroy the whole city, to bomb the whole city, to, like none of the people would be able to survive through earthquake because of part of the punishment. And you know why? If you read about the Bible, the destroy of two cities, Sodom and Gomorrah, you will see they cannot find 40 virtuous people, righteous people from the two cities, and therefore God had no choice but to destroy the cities, and people left the city, and if they turn their head back, feel sorry for themselves, they will turn to be stones, like be rocks. They will be rocks, because they're no good for anyone. They cannot save themselves, they cannot save anybody. So that's what we call the current crisis of civilization. If people know how to kneel down and say sorry to God and, confess their sins and provide charity and services in real money terms, share the food with the poor and the needy, and, just keep saying, do penalties, then you see the covenant. Just like in Buddhism, you can only reach enlightenment, like Buddhist people believe you can reach the light, the enlightenment, if you do the right thing. If the heart is not pure, how can you understand covenant? Because your mind is so cloudy. Your eyes cannot see. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Dion. And what I took from that is that I think what you're describing is the Catholic beliefs, confession, holy bread, and penance. And of course, you're right. If people could look at the church and see the pure teachings of Jesus being displayed, then maybe they would turn to the church with more confidence. Siva?
Can you share that slide again? Maybe we can read a little bit more in detail.
The one before, you mean?
The one that you asked the question now.
Oh, is it showing right now?
Is it?
You mean a slide which I already showed, or shall I continue?
There. Okay. No, the current one. So yeah. No, the previous one.
Okay. Yeah.
So here it says, for the majority of the Earth's people, the scriptures of each of these systems of belief have served, in Baha'u'llah's words, as the city of God, the source of knowledge that totally embraces consciousness, one so compelling as to endow the sincere with a new eye, a new ear, a new heart, and a new mind. And so if here he is referring to all the religions, and if that is so, and then your question is, why then does this immensely rich heritage not serve as the central stage for today's reawakening of spiritual quest. So whatever we believe, whatever religion we follow, does it actually give us a new eye, new ear, new heart, a new mind? If it gives that, will it bring all together? It says at the social level, the resulting moral principles have repeatedly translated themselves into universal codes regulating and elevating human relationship. So are we as followers, are we failing to see those core spiritual principles in our religion that we follow?
Well, it's probably partly that, as I think Jung was saying and Rosine was saying, but not necessarily. That's part of it, but I think that anyone who turns to the ancient scriptures today will still have that transformative. They can still have a new eye, a new ear, a new heart, and a new mind. And I think it's the messenger of God, or the manifestation of God, and the word of God that he revealed, which does that. The church is trying to do it as well, and helping as much as they can. All right, thank you all. Let's move on. So this is also from the same statement, One Common Faith. And it says, loss of faith in traditional religion has been an inevitable consequence of failure to discover in it the guidance required to live with modernity successfully and with assurance. Of course, there are other reasons as well, but I'd just like to explore this one. And as with last week's talk, we just looked at one paragraph, and that was enough to fill a good discussion. And same here, we just have one paragraph. Although the received truths of the great faiths remain valid, the daily experience of an individual in the 21st century is unimaginably removed from the one that he or she would have known in any of those ages when this guidance was revealed. Democratic decision-making has fundamentally altered the relationship of the individual to authority. With growing confidence and growing success, women justly insist on their rights to full equality with men. Revolutions in science and technology changed not only the functioning, but the conception of society, indeed of existence itself. Universal education and an explosion of new fields of creativity open the way to insights that stimulate social mobility and integration and create opportunities of which the rule of law encourages the citizen to take full advantage. Stem cell research, nuclear energy, sexual identity, ecological stress, and the use of wealth raise, at the very least, social questions that have no precedent. These and the countless other changes affecting every aspect of human life have brought into being a new world of daily choices for both society and its members. What has not changed is the inescapable requirement of making such choices, whether for better or worse. It is here that the spiritual nature of the contemporary crisis comes into sharpest focus, because most of the decisions called for are not merely practical but moral. In large part, therefore, loss of faith in traditional religion has been an inevitable consequence of failure to discover in it the guidance required to live with modernity successfully and with assurance. I've only got one more slide, but I'll save that. Now this is an interfaith talk, so obviously we each get a chance to present our religions and our views. I'm not so much wanting to, well, I want to, but I'm not trying to present the Baha'i faith because that's accessible to everyone. This statement, One Common Faith, and all of the Baha'i revelation is available easily anywhere. So I just thought it would be good to ask the question, why are people not turning towards religion? If God is the divine physician, he cares for us, he loves us, he promised he would come again, he promised a time of peace and justice, and yet religion is in decline. Maybe I'll just pause there. I'll leave the screen as it is, and we can discuss that for a little bit. Roseanne.
Thank you. I wish that we can also think about the plan of God after the covenant, because if everybody could have make a deep meditation about the plan of God, it can help us also to understand the meaning of the religion, and it can give us more confidence to the religions. For example, the prayer of Jesus Christ, when he says, may your will come to the world, may your will may be in this world like in the sky. This prayer, this is already, I can say, the results of the plan of God. And what is the will of God? The will of God is that we live in harmony, in peace, and without fear, with assurance, without hate, with love, together. This is only the will of God. So to achieve this goal, we have to work personally as individual and also in the community, because as human being, the human race has this privilege to come together. We are I can say, the most high creature from God. And if we want to achieve this goal, we have to really to see this part of us, inside of us, those virtues God created inside of us, and try to use it to bring the world to a better place. So for me, we don't need to think too much about the social issue, because the social is coming naturally. For example, the creation of the science is developing, and so. But the most important part is the spiritual part, because it's this spiritual part we can help the humanity to come to this really achievement of this plan of God. And this plan of God has started since the first prophet until today. So we have to ask ourselves individually, what I am doing inside this plan? I am following this plan, and how I can contribute to this plan. So if after we understand the plan of God and we understand our position inside this plan, I think if everyone could have put himself to this question mark, maybe it's going to help us to understand the meaning of the religion, and it's not going to be any more discussion about I am Christian, you are Muslim, he's Buddhist. It's going to disappear just like that, like a magic, because the magic is our heart, it's our spirit.
Thank you. I love your translation of the Lord's Prayer. The translation which we used to recite is thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I like the way you express that. And I'm not convinced of that one thing you said, that the social will take care of itself, because so far it's not. But you did raise a really important thing about why people are not turning with confidence to religion, and that is that the spiritual heart of religion, the thing which unites people, is being forgotten. And people of religion often put as their highest, their most fundamental belief is that they are slightly better than other religions, that kind of thing. And so it's a barrier, I mean, a serious barrier. Sometimes it leads to wars. But yes, the spiritual heart of religion, that's what will unite us. Yeah.
Hello. I just want to remind people, when we talk about God, if you only mention about covenant, it's not enough. In the Catholic Church, we have 10 commandments. We had to go back to the basic. God wants people to do 10 commandments. What is the 10 commandments? What is commandment number 1? You shall not kill. Whatever there, so you can read a whole lot through the Bible. And the thing that we talk about listening. Okay, when people read up and talk about scam, like AI, artificial intelligence, people listen to them tentatively and put all the money into the scam, no problem. And when people talk about listening to the Bible, go to the church, they probably say, oh, it's not applicable to me. I'm good enough. And then we talk about sexual development, talk about IVF test tube babies. In about 10 years time, 20 years time, how you gonna train all these test tube baby through technology to read the Bible and to understand the Bible and to understand the 10 commandments. Covenant is not enough. We love covenant. We love it because it's contract between God and human. But the human, how much they done with the 10 commandments? You shall not kill. What have you done? That's the first commandment, and you can read the rest of it. And you talk about nuclear energy and women equal with men. It's a very old subject and hasn't been resolved. You know, people sometimes in a battlefield, women side by side help the men to fight. But in a family, in a domestic sphere, they say domestic violence. So what has happened? Why can't they help each other in a family? And you talk about morality here. And you talk about consequence of failure to discover in its guidance. I think God gives too much guidance. The thing that we don't listen, we don't read, and we read, our mind is not clear. So how are you gonna do it? And you pray enough. But there's nothing happening because we, like, you know, science and technology keep changing. Now they want to do nuclear power now. They want everything in life. But to come back to God and do the rosary bead, do penance, do sorry, remorse, people don't think about it. They think about scam, how to make money fast, how to live fast, how to produce baby, not according to the Bible rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't argue with that. There are those problems in the world, and people are not turning towards the Bible rules enough. I'll just finish with this slide, 2 slides here. Just a little bit of a positive side from an interfaith and a Baha'i point of view. So the all-knowing physician has his finger on the pulse of mankind. He perceiveth the disease and prescribeth in his unerring wisdom the remedy. Every age hath its own problem, and every soul its particular aspiration. And an urge to unity, like a spiritual springtime, struggles to express itself. So there's hope. I mean, if we, well, we've even had atheists in this group who said we don't need God because science is the true God, and science provides everything that religion provides without the problems. I wasn't quite convinced by that. I think we need an educator. But we're all here. We're from different faiths. We believe because we have the scriptures, we have the founders of our faiths. We have something precious. We've perhaps because the fact that we're here means that we can see some kind of essential unity, some kind of hope. Each of our religions does have hope and a promise as an aspect of it. Because if God is all-knowing and all-loving, then of course he's not just going to let us suffer for no reason. He's been educating us. Even we had a lecturer from one of the universities in Brisbane, Professor Harlan Rain, and he talked about how before Muhammad came, there wasn't much spiritual teachings, religious teachings about how different nations could live together, different groups could live together in peace. And so Muhammad introduced treaties, agreements, solemn agreements, covenants, ways for people to work together, and those treaties had a prominence. So each revelation from God takes us a step closer to peace. We're slowly being educated. That's what I believe. All right, thank you very much. Welcome any questions. I mean, I can't answer them, but welcome discussion.
Yes. Any Catherine, Tracy, Edwin, Sarushi, Robert, Sore, Ian, Asanta.
Quite a bit to contemplate.
Yes. Sore, please.
Oh, you're muted, David.
Yes. Hello.
Hi, Zara.
Thank you. Yes, hello. Thank you. Thank you, Colin, for the talk. I was nearly at the end. I mean, I came very late. But I thought I just give some of my understanding about the, spirituality and why we are here. That I feel if we think about peace and peace within, if I have peace within myself, then I can have peace with the world. And if I feel that I belong to some of my part, my inner being, or my spirit, or my soul belongs, or it belongs to a higher dimension, not the spirit, not the physical world, then I should to honor that spirit and be part of the higher station. I try to do the right things, which religion comes in and say that Baha'u'llah, as a spirit of this age, Baha'u'llah's writings like guide me how to get to my higher being and try to have, to reach to that state of being in a higher position, I mean, in a soul rather than physical. I feel that sometimes comes very easy if we try to reach that. And for me, it never has any problem having a spirit or trying to be more spiritual. But I don't know whether I said or conveyed what it was in my mind. Yes.
No, that was good. That peace within is, I think, it must be a prerequisite for peace in the world. And a book I'm studying at the moment is about, I mean, we provide our children with formal education, and we use the community to help give our children a spiritual education. And even at age 4 or 5, they can start to understand some very simple concepts about the importance of virtues, the inspirational stories. But really the home environment, which means the peacefulness and the relationships between the people in the home, which make it a safe place and a nurturing place, that creates the peace within. Otherwise, we get to adulthood and we've got a few issues we're trying to solve, and less capacity to relate peacefully with other people. Tracy.
It's not an easy question to answer, is it, really? Because, you know, the media distorts what we think is going on. But when you get a chance to talk to, there's a lot of people who are searching and may be finding God in many different ways, but they don't necessarily, they feel like religion has become too politicized. Mm-hmm. So they may not want to be corralled in a certain way, but the searching is there, and there's all sorts of evidence of.
Oh, you muted yourself, Tracy, I think, or it happened.
I think, anyway. Yeah, I mean, there's evidence of God's activity and people responding to God's activity in many places. But if you rely on the media, whether it's social media or mainstream media, you may not notice it, because everything's getting distorted to make the politicians more powerful or to make profit. But underneath, human beings are still, we all have been created by God. So there's some part inside of everyone that is responding to that, but it may not be in a formalized way.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a hard question to answer.
Look, I'm with you on that. Whether people recognize manifestation of God, he's still sending his sunshine and his rain on everybody, and people are still responding and growing to the extent that they open themselves up to that. And in the world today, we see constructive forces and destructive forces. And it would be great if we had more news about the constructive forces. They're a little bit invisible. They don't sell newspapers, but they're happening. What I might do, because yes, Siva, go ahead.
Yeah, I think if the majority of the people in the world, they are turning to religion and with confidence, and they believe what they believe is right. But somehow they fail to understand the progressive nature of God's revelation. And also the religious leaders, for want of knowledge or want of power, or to cling to their power, they misguide the followers, thereby making them to cling to certain verses, certain statements in their holy scriptures. And that actually brings a wall against these innocent believers, not to look for anything else, not to be open-minded. I think that is one of the serious challenges. But the majority of the people are so-called religious, and they are with confidence. If you ask, yes, I believe strongly in my religion, and what I follow is right, and they all and go on to the extent to say that what I believe is right and everything else is wrong. So that's and one that is attributable to the religious leaders of the world. And I think this document addressed to the religious leaders of the world, this document?
No, there was a letter, 4 or 5 pages, addressed from the Universal House of Justice to the religious leaders of the world in 2002. And Baha'is delivered that, and it was very well received. And the point of that letter in 2002 was that all of the prejudices which existed for centuries no longer have any substance or credibility. Like the idea that men are superior to women, I mean, that's giving way. Not many people take that seriously anymore. And all sorts of other prejudice, racism, for example. But religious prejudice is still there. There's still the idea that mine is better than the others, that kind of thing. And that's a serious barrier to peace, as you mentioned at the beginning of the program. But it's interesting that religious leaders, they're not all just after leadership. Some, it's just want of knowledge. And even then, they're still spiritual guides. The Catholic priest who is passed away now at our local church, St. Therese, he was a lovely gentleman. And I'd sit next to him and I really admired him and told him that he's doing wonderful work keeping the flame of the Spirit of Jesus alive in our community. I think it's wonderful that we have, and Baha'u'llah praised them. Of course, he didn't hesitate to point out that when they're putting to death and causing suffering for God's messengers, that's what always happens. But where a religious leader whose words agree with his deeds, they're like a light to the world. And one of the problems that religion has and religious leaders have is that they can see that the world has all these new problems, and they're not quite sure how to change the religion, to change their beliefs, tweak them to make it relevant again. And if they do try and change them a bit, then that undermines the credibility of whatever creed they had in the first place. And so people are losing confidence for that reason as well.
Edwin, do you want to say anything?
I think Tracy raised her hand and put it down, is it?
So the thing is, it doesn't mean that like everyone thinks that their belief is right. No, some of our beliefs may be wrong. Like, many of our beliefs may be wrong. Like, certain things are not based on science, like, but still people deserve respect for their belief as long as it is not harming the community or others.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's a wonderful quality in people, to see themselves, to see ourselves as learners and always have something to learn from someone else, which we do. I mean, every other person is a reflection of God, and we learn about God from other people as much as we do from having God in our heart. Look, so that was the 2002 letter. And then in 2005, the House of Justice shared a commentary which had been prepared at the Baha'i World Centre called One Common Faith. And the aim of it was to prepare mainly Baha'is for a deeper kind of dialogue, to not just skim over the surface of things, to look at the reality of the world and to see what the Baha'i faith is really about and what's really happening in religion. Because if we don't understand the spirituality of the people around us and the real problems of our communities, then we're not going to have much to offer. So I'll share with you a little outline of that shortly, but yeah.
This is the question to Colin.
Oh, yeah.
A direct question to Colin. How do you know why then are people not turning with confidence to religion? Is that a presumption, assumption, or just an example? How do you know that? Because, as I said before, sometimes the apparition of Virgin Mary come to people, like in other religions, it's a manifestation of God right in front of people, right in front of you, in your heart, in your body. No need to go and search for them. They're right there. But some people, they can not see God. But it's the experience, I think, with the apparition of Virgin Mary or the miracle or whatever miracle happened, I think the children, they might have more opportunity and chances to see Virgin Mary than the old people. And I don't know why, but look like the much younger the kids are, the easy they can see God. And you know, why people go and search for God for 100,000 years? Got it right there in front of you. Got it right in your heart, in your mind, in your sleep. Angel talking to you through your ears. Telepathy, communication directly. Why you got to go through these people and that people and all this sort of go around the circle?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. I think you were saying before that we go to our local church, but I also agree with what you're saying now, that we can experience God directly in our hearts. But and certainly there is still confidence in religion, but in general, when people have a social problem, they don't turn to religion. They might turn to the politicians. Or if they have a spiritual need, they might go shopping, or they might go to astrology or something like that. Religion, the number of people attending churches, I think statistically, is declining. Doesn't mean that the Bible is any less of a spiritual food. It's just as important.
If nobody know about the story of Fatima, Lourdes, you know, people go to Fatima, to Lourdes, to France, just to see the apparitions. You know, it been in a movie, in Hollywood movie, and so she appeared to the three shepherds, the young kids, teenagers, and they saw her very, very clearly. No problem with that. And we here, looking, searching, talking about God for 100,000 years, and we're still looking.
Yeah, I think what people are looking for is, yes, there are miracles, but you have to experience a miracle, and even then you might wonder about what you just saw. It's not going to convince anyone except the person who was there. But the miracles, such as the healing of the world, the fruits of a religion, is something people are looking for and wanting to see. I think that confidence might come from actually seeing the fruits of religion. Cassandra?
This morning I was in an interfaith meeting attending it, and the presenter was talking about the seeing God, and So in Hinduism, or just generally, what she mentioned was that we go to the temple and see God, and finally we are all in a different level in our spirituality. But as we pray and meditate and we are spiritually become better, we see God within us, then within everybody else. And finally, ultimately, we reach a stage, the whole world, we see God wherever, whatever we see. So I think we are, from what I understood from that presentation was that as we grow spiritually, we see God in us or God in others. God is, we don't have to go searching for God. God is everywhere. That is what her presentation, and I also agree with that it is depending on our level of spirituality that we see where God is. I don't know.
Yes, look, I think you're right, Basantha, but that idea gave me a problem once because I was on the Manly ferry and my son was only about 2.5 years old, and we were right at the front of the ferry where there's a lot of, I've been telling him God is everywhere, but right at the front there's a fenced off area with all this greasy black anchor equipment. And so he says, and everyone around is listening, he says, "Dad, is God everywhere?" I said, yes, he's everywhere, Danny. Is he in there? And he points to this big black greasy equipment. And of course I had to say yes, because everyone's listening, otherwise it'd be a contradiction. I'll just share the screen. Now, whenever there's a significant statement or commentary or something, the best way to engage it, in my opinion, is to just summarize it. And that gives you the structure and reminds you of what it covers, but usually just one phrase per paragraph, that kind of thing. And so this statement, One Common Faith, is actually excellent. The foreword is about the need to elevate religious discourse above sectarian interests to something more spiritually foundational and unifying. It talks about a sea change in human consciousness, reawakened interest in religion. There's a re-evaluation about the failure of materialism, and it failed because it's disengaged from spiritual development, and there was disillusionment with failed promises. So that was last century. Materialism really gave it its best shot. And then we also have global integration, and the conception of the oneness of mankind is becoming the standard for judging collective ethics. And according to this commentary, these changes reflect a spiritual process, the day of resurrection, coming to life of the world. And we've just talked about this, the primary driving force of the civilizing process of religions. People are not turning with confidence to religions. We talked about one of these. Society has changed. The other one is that when you associate with other religions, which is of transport and communication and the internet, so people are questioning when their own faith has a doctrine that inhibits association and understanding, so they question those doctrines. And the problem is that established religions cannot change their belief systems to answer current questions. To do so would lead to further disenchantment and conflict. So then it discusses the various understandings of the term religion, all of which are imprisoned in conceptual limits. There's an outline of Baha'i teachings. In particular, Baha'i faith is not a new religion, but part of the world's spiritual evolution. And then it looks at the common objections, that the differences among religions are too fundamental. And there's two categories of religious difference, which religions present. This is the intention of our scripture. That's how it's presented, and that's why it becomes an article of faith, because they've defined their scripture in that way. And one is the differences in practice, religious customs. and then the differences. Well, then it responds to that, why differences in practice are not a significant objection. It misses the distinction between the eternal and the transitory features of religion. And then understanding differences of doctrine. It looks at the role of clergy, the parable of the tares and the wheat in the Bible warns against theologians usurping the divine authority. And a new perspective on religion, that would be a lifetime to examine that one. It talks about the needs of this age and the power to realize these goals is that of unity. People see unity as a distant goal. In fact, it is the prerequisite to solving social ills caused by disunity. Obviously, I'm not going into depth. It's a statement which you can spend a week studying or just reading on your own and summarizing, and you start to glean some very interesting ideas, including what happens when there's the ego and betrayals of trust. The covenant was mentioned earlier. There are many kinds of covenant, but ultimately, when it's caused by the ego, then that's a betrayal of trust. And then it talks about how Baha'is are working with anyone who wants to try this remedy which Baha'u'llah has brought. I hope you don't mind me sharing that. It wasn't part of my presentation, but I do love that commentary, One Common Faith.
Yes, thank you. That was very useful. Maybe if you don't mind, you can share the summary and the PowerPoint with the group.
Yeah, certainly. Look, I don't want to promote myself, but if you go to
your blog,
yeah, I'll just promote myself here if you don't mind. So there's this page, colindibdon.com, and if you click on Interfaith Connections, you'll come to this page, and you'll find the letter to the world's religious leaders, the One Common Faith, including the summary is there somewhere, and various highlights in the journey of interfaith dialogue.
Thank you. Catherine, do you have anything to say?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Catherine?
I think Tracy was raising her hand before. I don't. Tracy, you wanted to say something before?
Oh, Catherine, I think Catherine's unmuted now. Did you want to say something, Catherine?
Well, Siva asked if I could say something. I see the religion, the purpose of religion is to reconnect us to God. Obviously, something went not right after God created this world, created us, and that we were separated. So I do believe, and I am very hopeful, that God has continuously tried to send his messengers to make that, by uniting with them, by understanding what they wanted to reveal to us, that we then can come closer to God and make ourselves a dwelling place of God, when we then, don't see things in a selfish way, but more in a selfless way, and so on. So, I'm very optimistic that God hasn't given up with the world he's created, and also meetings like the one we are having tonight are happening in the world every day. Probably they could be small, but it's very positive and very hopeful. Yeah.
Thank you. And what you just said reminds me of of the power of religion. I mean, we can't change ourselves from selfish to selfless, but religion does that. And you're right. The Bible says that there's been a separation between people and God, but He's always there. Just
God is alive.
Turning our heart the right way, let Him in.
Yeah.
Look, should we? I think Jung had a question, and then
I think Jung has raised a hand again.
I can be very fast here, Colin. Did you think about you mentioned in your little paragraph about materialism? Why materialism felt disengaged from spiritual development? Disillusionment with failed promises. Well, in real life, to be materialistic is good. There's nothing wrong with to be materialistic. Just imagine if you got 200 refugees to land here, and then they said, and then you had to take them into your shelter, and you say, what do you need? Can you give me a list of what you need? They said, give us 200 blankets. Go with freezing. So if you are not materialistic person, you're not rich, you don't have money, you don't have nothing, how are you going to provide all this help and charity and services to your friends, 200 people, refugees? So whether we've been holding a job or providing materialistic things like pillow, food, shoes, books, everything to the refugees or migrants or whatever, whoever need, then obviously we need money. So therefore, materialistic to be good, nothing wrong with materialistic. Just the thing that how you use them. So the other one is with unity, we pay $1 billion to build unity. And then we really reach unity, we bomb the unity out, and then we rebuild and we ask for donation and do all this sort of charity to build up unity again. So how many times already on earth that we try to build unity through billion of dollars? So we had to be awakened to the value of money and how we use them.
Yeah, I think, I agree. I think we're on the same page. If I was materialistic, I would keep the 200 blankets, but because we're not totally materialistic, so we're happy to give it to people in need.
The thing that you had to go and ask for, people had to put donation, had to put charity, had to do fundraising, had to be realistic how we provide them all the material needs first, and then the Bible. Even if you buy one book of Bible, the American Bibles will cost you at least $60 for one book, just say, for example, New Testament. And so therefore, all these things will need cash or donation or check. So we can, and then they reconnect them from materialistic needs into spiritual needs.
Yeah, that's how material wealth should be used for spiritual purposes, which includes everyone's basic welfare. Material acquisition is good if it's earned by hard labor, if you spend it on yourself and your family and people who need it, and as long as the world is becoming wealthy at the same time without the extremes. I think, yes, Eva.
Yes. Yeah. Is there anyone else wants to say anything who have not spoken yet? Ian, Robert. Okay.
I think we can have an early mark, Eva.
Okay. Well, I mean, this dialogue is progressing well, and thank you for this presentation. It makes us to think further every day. As Catherine was saying, that these kinds of things are happening all around the world, and we have to be optimistic that the world will be at peace, and every one of us have a responsibility towards it, and we have to be open-minded. We used to share a quotation from the Universal Laws of Justice that about our. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yes.
It says that this is from the Universal Laws of Justice, letter dated 25th of November 2020. It says, whether through deeds or words, the merit of your every contribution to social well-being lies first in your resolute commitment to discover that precious point of unity where contrasting perspectives overlap and around which contending people can coalesce. So, whatever topic that we talk, we are bound to have many, many different perspectives and views and opinions. But if we are trying to do something good for our society, if we are trying to say something good for the well-being of mankind, then the merit of what we are doing and saying lies first in to try to find the precious point of unity among the contrasting perspectives. So with that, I'm sure if we apply this in our daily life, and if we can share this idea with the other friends, then it becomes the achieving the peace becomes quicker. Instead of trying to say that what I say is right and others are wrong, then we are always going to be divided. And the letter that the last week's presentation, Colin, you were showing that paragraph 4 of 31st of December 2021. There was a sentence. It says that they transcend differences, harmonize perspectives, and promote the use of consultation for making decisions. So we have to transcend the differences, that whatever that we appears to be there. We had to harmonize the perspectives. We had to promote the use of consultation. Maybe in future, some of us can present on consultation. What is consultation? What is true consultation? What are the benefits of it? So that it helps our society to come to mutual understanding and to make the right decision. Thank you very much. And if there is no more comments or questions, we can conclude the meeting and we can meet again. And Rosine, I'll contact you to give a talk one day.
All right, with pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, good night.